Rev up your engines!
Well, I gotta talk about this one. California is now talking about raising taxes again on their people. This time it would be an average increase of $12,500 per household to pay for a one-payer health care plan. Yes, let's just keep taxing people. Come on now, California. Haven't you realized that people are leaving because they're already taxed too high? You're going to add even more tax on top of it? And it's also going to include an extra payroll tax on people who make more than $49,000 a year if they work at a company that has more than 50 employees. They're just taxing people again, more and more tax. They've just lost their minds. They just want to keep taxing. Like the money stream is never going to end, and everyone's going to be happy paying all those taxes. I don't think so. And they're also proposing a gross receipt tax. It's a 2.3% tax on gross receipts minus the first $2 million that a business does. If you ask me, this is sort of like what England has done for ages, and so do our friends in North Canada, to their own demise. What they call VAT. Value-added tax. Just keep taxing everything. Geez, one day they're going to probably tax the air you breathe in California, you know? You got to give them a receipt of how long you were there. They figured how much air you breathe and tax you on that. They've really lost their minds there, thinking that taxing is the solution to everyone's problems. No, it isn't. Everybody knows the government is inefficient at what they do. They're one of the worst things you could possibly put your money into if you want to get value for your money. Give your money to a bunch of bureaucrats who don't know what the heck they're doing. But they're just out there to tax people who are in California. We'll see what happens. Maybe eventually everyone will leave. Well, here's a crazy idea. Hyundai just revealed an electrified, pod-filled future with their new pod platform. It's a two-tier system. They call it a mother shuttle. And those are big pods. And each big pod can have 8 small pods. You would be in the small pod. All I can think of is that old science fiction movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where people go to bed and there's this pod under them and it turns them into these unthinking beings with no emotions, of course. Everybody who knows anything about history, it was supposed to be symbolic of becoming communist and having no feelings, and you look the same, but you're completely different inside, right? Be that as it may, I mean, one of the dumbest ideas I ever heard in my life. Yeah, you're in your little pod, and there's 8 of your pods in the bigger pod. Who's to say they're all going to go to the same place? It's kind of like a stupid bus idea. Instead of a bus carrying a whole bunch of people, this bus only carries 8 pods that each individual's in, so you have your little privacy, but, I mean, who thought of this? One of the dumbest ideas I ever heard of in my life. Now, the pods are called Personal Mobility PNDs. Hyundai says, and I quote, this is insane, the personal mobility pod is meant to provide a comfortable experience to the destination while protecting personal privacy. It's insane. Anybody came up with this idea? You're in your little electric pod, and then you drive it to a big electric pod, which takes you around. What is the point? It's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. You want to have little electric pods, fine. Drive around in them, you know? Why would you want to drive to another pod? And then it has to take you someplace. Then you get out and you go around. It makes no sense. The Koreans have lost their minds. Well, unlike the movie The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they almost took over and snatched everybody's bodies, I don't think these pods are going to go very far. One, you don't get enough out of it. You only got 8 people that can go. It's like having a bus that only holds 8 people. What good is this for transportation? And they're all electric. You got to keep recharging them, too. They said the big bus pod can go 2 hours. Whoop-de-doo. What about the rest of the day? Sounds like the dumbest idea I've ever heard of. David Alberta says, my son's in Wisconsin, I'm in Minnesota, so I can't help. But he says he's got a 2020 Buick, and he can't get the key out of the ignition, and the car won't do anything. A lot of times, keys will wear out. If you can't get it out of the ignition, it means that your ignition lock assembly needs to be replaced, which is a giant pain in the butt on that vehicle, because then you got to reset the anti-theft system. It's a very expensive endeavor. You got to pay a mechanic or a locksmith to do that because they got to reprogram it to work. But, and I've seen this sometimes happen, there's a lot of electronics in those vehicles. Get somebody to come over with another car and jump start the car. If it jump starts, it might just need a battery. Then jump start it, drive it to like AutoZone, O'Reilly, whatever. They will test your battery and alternator free in the parking lot. And if buying a battery fixes it, great. Because sometimes with modern electronics, that'll happen. You lose all power and the key won't come out. But you can't even jump start it. Then he's going to have to get the ignition lock assembly and a new key and get it reprogrammed. Let's say it's a dual problem. He jump starts it and it starts fine, but he can't get the key out of the ignition. Get a bunch of WD-40, spray it in there. A lot of times the key will stick when the road and pull it out. Hopefully he's got another key. If you got another known good key, and I tell people, in my drawers, I got spare keys for all my cars. So if something ever goes wrong, I got a spare one. Say one of them's broken, I got a spare one to use, right? Get the spare one and use that instead, because keys wear out over time like anything else. And eventually, you gotta get another one made, because the little markings, all the cut marks, eventually wear and get too loose, and then they don't turn the key anymore. So always have a good key. Find another key, works great. Use that and then make another key from that so you still have two. And throw the other one away, because it could be just flat worn out. Connor Lasher says, my LED bulbs are smoking after a halogen to LED light conversion on 07 Toyota Corolla. I swapped them out, but I didn't put any resistors in line. The bulbs get super hot, almost like regular bulbs. What should I do? How can I make halogen to LED properly? The first thing is, you gotta buy quality LED bulbs. You get cheap ones, who knows what's gonna go on? You buy the quality ones. I got them in my matrix. They're quality. They have cooling fans built into them, so the cooling fans keep them cool. And they also have the ballast resistors in line to the whole system. So it isn't just you put a bulb and plug it in. You put the bulb in. The bulb comes with a little wiring piece. The resistor assembly is in it. Then that just plugs into the regular wiring harness that was halogens. So I went from halogens to LEDs. I have no problems at all. But you gotta buy a quality one. Quality ones have electric cooling fans in them to cool them, and they also have a ballast resistor built in line. You gotta get quality ones. You go buy these cheap made in Chinese piles of junk for, $25 a piece. Yeah, they're not gonna work. They're gonna get hot. They're gonna cause problems because they're cheaply made and they weren't made for your car. They're just a generic thing that they hope works. Anytime you put LED stuff in, you gotta have ballast resistors in them. Now, take like when they first came out, Nissan especially had problems that the resistors would go bad. You couldn't buy them. You had to buy the entire assembly, and it cost like $1,200 a piece, and people were mad as a hornet. Now, the aftermarket stuff doesn't cost that kind of money. You can get a good pair for less than $100, but you don't want to buy ones that are $25 because they're junk and they don't work right. You gotta have it all in one. Don't just buy one, put it in and plug it in. If it doesn't have the wiring harness with the ballast resistor and some kind of cooling system on it, you don't want to use those bulbs. Now, some of the LED bulbs have electric fans that work better, but some of them also have like aluminum housings with cooling fins, like a air-cooled motorcycle engine, and those can work good too, as long as they have some type of cooling device on them. You get these cheap ones that don't plug them in, you're gonna have that problem. You take them out immediately and get better ones. Well, it looks like Pepsi-Cola is getting ready for the delivery of their Tesla electric semis. They've recently picked up mega chargers that they're installing at their warehouse deliveries. They're gonna use it for delivering Pepsi-Cola products. Now, this is for their Frito-Lay warehouse in Modesto. They claim that this mega charger can charge at 1.5 megawatts. Not 10, 50 watts, but 1.5 megawatts. So of course, they got to be cool. They say that they're going to have immersion cooling technology to keep them cool. This baby's going to get hot if they're not cool now. And they say they're going to put in 4 of them, but these chargers aren't cheap. These 4 chargers installed are going to be $334,000, plus, since they're in California, a $5,500 permit fee. Don't think that if we go to electricity, they won't be charging all kinds of new taxes on it, especially in California, the land of taxes. Now, they're starting small. There's only going to be a few of them. PepsiCo says that they expected to deploy 15 electric tractors by the end of 2021. Well, they haven't deployed any yet, so it's 2022 now, so they're obviously behind schedule. Tesla itself says they don't anticipate volume semi-production until at least 2023. Small scale, maybe they can get away with this. Bill Gates said that electric battery big delivery trucks are a stupid thing because of the weight of the batteries, how long it takes to charge them. But, I mean, at a scale like this, if they're talking about getting 15 of them, by the end of the year, it's just such a small scale experiment that it's really not affecting anything one iota. It's delivering Frito-Lay products in California. Well, they know exactly where they have to go. In a limited area, they can have these very expensive chargers stuck all over the place. And of course, knowing California, they're probably giving them a tax rate for being green, so they're probably getting that written off of their taxes. There's a lot of hidden stuff that they never tell us about. Electric giant trucks delivering things with batteries, hydrogen fuel cells like they're trying in Germany, that makes a lot more sense. But batteries, the more you carry, and those are big trucks carrying big things, the more power you need. So you need bigger batteries. Bigger batteries weigh more. They got to pull themselves. So there's always that level of inefficiency that you won't get if you had hydrogen fuel cell electric. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.